As we New York Giants fans say at least 5 times a year, a win is a win. Steve Kornacki, I know you've been bringing in more numbers.
Yeah, we could take you through a couple important things as this night kind of wraps up in terms of the results. We were showing you all night that Sanders was leading, saying there's a long shot scenario there for Buttigieg. The ultimate reason why this race was called at the moment, it was a big part of it had to do with this town finally reporting, the college town, the state university, the University of New Hampshire. You saw Bernie Sanders won this thing, double digits, a margin of about 500 over Buttigieg. We expected something like that to happen, needed to see it to get that thing called statewide. And so at that point, this race was then called for Sanders. You see there are still some outstanding things on the map here. We can tell you big picture. Why is Sanders on top as this night comes to an end? Cities. He won the 7 largest cities in the state of New Hampshire. He won Manchester, the biggest one. He won Nashua. He won Concord, Dover, Rochester, Portsmouth, and Keene. He won the 7 largest, so that certainly helped him. Where was he weak? Where were there opportunities for Buttigieg to get this close? We talked all night about bedroom communities along that Massachusetts-New Hampshire border. You see Pelham right here, Salem. Buttigieg was winning some of these places. Here's an example, Wyndham. There's a lot of people here in Wyndham, these kinds of towns. Sanders kind of lagged. Some of these suburban areas across the border outside Manchester, Sanders kind of lagged. It gave Buttigieg an opportunity. Not quite enough there, though. Overall, we always say delegate race. Here's the delegate distribution from New Hampshire. Guess what? In terms of delegates, national convention delegates, Sanders and Buttigieg are going to walk out of New Hampshire with the same number. 9 for Sanders, 9 for Buttigieg, 6 for Amy Klobuchar. Why is that? Again, extremely complicated math, but basically there were 3 pools of delegates here in New Hampshire tonight. There was a statewide pool of delegates. There was the 1st congressional district, and there was the 2nd congressional district. Each one of these was allocated 8 delegates. And the margin was basically so close in all 3 of these places between Sanders and Buttigieg that when you get into these rounding formulas, these incredibly complicated rounding formulas, that statewide, Sanders got 3, Buttigieg got 3, Klobuchar got 2. In the 1st congressional district, it was 3-3-2. And in the 2nd congressional district, it was 3-3-2. And that adds up to 9 for Bernie Sanders, 9 for Pete Buttigieg, 6 for Amy Klobuchar. So actually, in terms of national convention delegates, they're walking out of here, Sanders and Buttigieg, with the same amount. Klobuchar on board. Remember, debate participation. The DNC says get delegates in these contests here on the stage. These 3 get an automatic ticket if that were in doubt at all. And the final thing I can tell you, just checking to see if we've got any late returns here, turnout. We've been monitoring turnout all night. This, a bit of a surprise. Remember, Iowa, we talked about it being flat with 2016. That got some alarm bells going off among Democrats. I can tell you right now, they've already blown past with 90% in. They are higher than their 2016 level. The New Hampshire Democratic primary has higher turnout at 90% than they had with 100% in 2016. They are also right now on par with their 2008 level. That was Obama, Clinton, Edwards. You remember kind of an epic primary right there. There is a possibility, we're going to monitor it, when this final 10% comes in, that this primary will have higher turnout than the 2008 Obama, Clinton, Edwards primary did. So that could be significant for Democrats. And again, that is a switch from what we were talking about last week with those Iowa turnout numbers.
And, Steve, in terms of those turnout numbers, a lot of people are going to be looking at, thinking ahead about the general election, thinking about what it says about Democratic voter enthusiasm more broadly. Is there anything that's changed in terms of New Hampshire voter registration process, laws, feared restrictions or otherwise that might explain those turnout numbers in procedural terms rather than as a thing that we could map enthusiasm onto?
Well, one thing that you see in New Hampshire is independence. I don't think the official term there in New Hampshire is independence. Independence, basically, very easy and very common for them to vote in either the Democratic or the Republican primary. And one thing we saw in the exit poll tonight was there was a higher share of the Democratic electorate here in 2020 that identified itself as independent, politically independent, than you saw in 2016. I think it was a difference of 5 points. So one thing you see here, remember in 2016, there was a competitive Republican primary in New Hampshire, Trump, Kasich, Rubio, all of that. Really wasn't much of a competitive one on the Republican side tonight. So I think you saw more independents in New Hampshire. This can happen a lot going to that Democratic primary. So that's certainly, I think, part of this. But again, if they're above 2008 levels here, I think you might then just start talking about, hey, it is just easier probably for voters to participate in a primary than it is to participate in a caucus where you got to go spend 3 hours, declare your preference in front of your friends and neighbors, maybe defend your preference. It might just be easier to show up, get a ballot, cast it, and leave in 5 minutes. And so that might have a little higher turnout because of that as well.
It means also that as we get the sort of follow-on reporting and we have the chance to sort of look at all the crosstabs and everything coming out of this, it'll be really interesting to see who independent, undeclared, no party affiliation voters, who they chose. Because if Democrats see that pool of voters, even just specifically in New Hampshire, as potentially among the audience that they could bring into a general election for the right Democratic candidate, that's going to change the way that individual candidates campaign.
Yeah, we were looking at it. I'm just going to see if I have it right in front of me because I can try to give you that independent number right here. I got it up here in the exit poll. And if you give me literally 5 seconds, Democrat, Republican, Independent. Among independents, the 46% who identify themselves as independents, first place, Bernie Sanders, 29%. Second place, Pete Buttigieg, 24%. Third place, Amy Klobuchar, 18%. And again, those are folks who call themselves independents.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.